Hi guys, today we are going to discuss the different ways of prompting. This should have been the first video of my channel, but what I'm going to discuss today is this paper. Principal instructions are all you need for questioning Llama 1, 2, GPT 3.5 and 4. Basically, this paper is going to discuss 26 guiding principles designed to streamline the process of querying and prompting large language models. Now, prompting the large language model is a very useful skill, and you might have noticed that inserting just one or two words differently changes the inference and the output of the LLMs. Now, this paper has researched all of these, and the authors have come up with 26 number of different prompting principles which will help you to get consistent output from the LLMs. That is what we want when we design a product, when we design a chatbot or any product. We want the output to be very consistent, and there are some principles that will lay the foundation of the prompting styles that you have, and then you can iterate on that. So let's look at the 26 number of guiding principles which are designed to streamline the process of querying and computing the large language models. Now let's look at the introduction here. We know that directly fine-tuning the LLM for a particular task or for a particular project is not feasible at all times, keeping in mind the cost. And by the way, it is not necessary. So the first step that we need to do is to put a better prompt. If that prompt is not successful and we are not able to properly query the large language models, then you can go for fine-tunings of the models. But with a very large model, for example GPT 3.5 or GPT 4, the Llama series, these models are very large and they have knowledge base. But when you put a vague prompt, you will get a vague reply. Now, as a matter of fact, the larger the prompt, the better it is. Now, for example, we have write a brief text on climate change. So, depending on the model, it is going to, in this case, it is GPT-4, it is going to give this beautiful reply. But if you want something for a kid, or when you are a kid, or when you are preparing some documents for a kid, then you need to use something or give the GPT-4 some reference. So for example, here you can say write a brief text on climate change using simple English, like you explaining something to a 5-year-old. Then you can see this beautiful answer. Imagine Earth wearing a cozy and a big blanket. That is a much better reply for someone like a 5-year-old. What you have seen that there are findings that indicate that larger model possesses a considerable capacity for simulation. Because it's a larger model, we have so much inbuilt knowledge of the models, large language models, which are large. But in order to extract the output, we need to put in more precise task or directed prompt. Okay, another finding is from this paper is that we know prompting, it's a distinct aspect of interacting with the language models. We know prompting, and that's why we are in this channel. We are the prompt engineers here. There has been different methods of prompting. Ask me anything, chain of thought, least to most prompting. Then we have directional stimulus prompting. So there are different kinds of prompting, and with all these promptings and all these methodologies in hand, the authors have discussed everything and they have come up with the best prompt principles for instruction. Now let's look at each one of them. This is going to be boring, but believe me, these are the first principles that you need to know to better prompt the LLM because sometimes it can happen that the model has that information, but because of the lack of a good prompt, you are not able to extract that information. And if you're not able to extract that information, you might consider fine-tuning, but then again, it's a waste of effort and resources, because a large model always has that information in hand. We just need a better prompt. So the first is, no need to be polite with the LLM. So there is no need to add phrases like please, if you don't mind, thank you, I would like to, and you can just get straight to the point. This is what I follow, this is what I know. Next is integrate the intended audience in the prompt. So you want to make sure that the LLM knows who is the audience, or who is going to read that output. For example, the audience is an expert in the field, so you can say that I am an electrical engineer, for example, and now tell me this. So it will have that reference of you being an electrical engineer, and the response will be inference or outputted accordingly. Third, break down complex tasks in a sequence of simpler prompts in an interactive conversation. So you can add a bunch of steps to think, a bunch of simple tasks, because if you put a more complex prompt, then you might tend to make some grammatical mistakes or logical mistakes. So it's better to put in simple prompts, break down the complex prompt. Next is employ affirmative directives such as do, while steering clear of negative like don't. So you don't need to say don't do this, but instead you can say do this. When you need clarity or a deeper understanding of a topic, idea, or any piece of information, utilize the following prompts. So you can use these prompts. Explain this in simple terms. Explain this to me like I'm a 5-year-old. Explain to me as if I'm a beginner or an expert in this field. Write the essay, text, paragraph using simple English like you are explaining to a 5-year-old. Number 6, add, I'm going to tip you X amount of dollars for a better solution. So it is going to put in a better solution. Implement the example-driven prompting, which is known as a few-shot prompting. So you put in 2 to 3 examples, and then ask the LLM to follow these examples, these format, and then it's going to follow the examples. That is known as a few-shot prompting. So number 8, when formatting a prompt, start with the # instructions, followed by examples and or questions if relevant. So when we use these kind of keywords, then the model knows exactly that this is the examples that we're talking about, and it is not going to take that as an instruction. You can also use line breaks, which is a very good practice, which is I use as well. You can use line breaks to separate these. Next is, you can use the phrase you must or your task is. Next, you will be penalized. That is also good. Use the phrase answer a question given in a natural, human-like manner in your prompts. So if you want a more human-like output, you can put in a natural this statement. Use leading words like think step by step, chain of thought. You can put in think step by step and give me the step by step thinking approach. So you can have that sort of an output. So one thing that you might realize working with LLMs is that you don't want the LLM to rush to an output. So for example, if you just give a smaller prompt, then it tends to rush to the output, and that makes it a good output, but maybe not suitable for you. If you want an output that is more suitable for you, you need to put in a very large prompt, of course keeping in mind the context length that it can take. But if it is within your context length, you can put in a larger prompt, so that you can put in all the restrictions that you want, all the things that you would like the LLM to output and would not. So all of the things you can put in if it is within the context length. Say what happens when the context length is more, is lesser, but your prompt is longer than the context length. So in that case, you need to think of giving some examples or fine-tuning the LLM. If the number of restrictions are too much, you can then fine-tune the model with examples, question answer pairs. 13. Add to your prompts the following phrase. Let me check the time. Well within the boundary. Okay. 13. Add to your prompts the following phrase. Ensure that your answer is unbiased and do not rely on stereotypes. Okay. Allow the model to elicit precise details and requirements from you by asking you questions until he has enough information to provide the needed output. For example, from now on, I would like you to ask me questions too. So again, you don't want the model to rush. You want the model to take its time to understand the prompting better, and if required, to ask you further questions on what you would like to know about before jumping into the conclusion. 15. To inquire about a specific topic or idea or any information and you want to test your understanding, you can use the following phrase. Teach me the topic name and include a test at the end, but don't give me the answers and tell me if I got the answer right when I respond. So this is just like a teacher. Assign a role to the large language model. So you are an expert physicist, for example. Use delimiters. So dash dash answer is this, dash dash instruction is this. You should use, I use delimiters. Repeat a specific word or phrase multiple times within a prompt. So if something is so important that you want it to follow, so you can use that particular word or phrase multiple times so that it gets more weight and the LLM does the inference accordingly. Combine a chain of thought with few shot prompting. We already know the chain of thought, and a few shot prompting, giving some few examples to learn from. Use output primers, which involves concluding your prompt with the beginning of the desired output. Utilize output primers by ending your prompt with the start of the anticipated response. For example, you're working with an SQL query, text to query, for example. So when you put in the instructions, at the end of the instructions, you're going to put in, for example, select a keyword. So when it's going to give you the response, it is going to print out the SQL and select everything from the table name. So this is another thing. And working with the SQL databases, I realized that this actually works. This works. To write an essay or any type of text that should be detailed. Write a detailed essay on me. This is again the same thing. You want to write the main keywords, for example, detailed. You want to write for me, and you can also specify who are you, whether you are a college student, a physicist, or an army, I don't know, but you need to specify and give yourself what you do, your profile to the LLM as well. To change specific text without changing the style. Try to revise each paragraph sent by users. You should only improve the user's grammar and vocabulary and make it sound natural. You should not change the writing style, such as making a formal paragraph casual. So you just want to change the grammar as well. You can do that using this prompt. Next, when you have a complex coding prompt that may be in different files from now on, and whenever you generate codes that spans more than one file, generate a programmatic language script, for example, Python script, that can be run to automatically create the specified files and make changes to existing files to insert the generated code. And that is your question. Another thing you can use when you want to initiate or continue a text using specific words, phrases, or sentence, utilize the following prompt. I'm providing you with the beginning of a song lyrics or story paragraph and insert the lyrics here. Finish it based on the words provided. Keep the flow consistent. You want to write a song, you want to write some lyrics, so you can use that. 25th number. Clearly state the requirements that the model must follow in order to produce content in the form of the keyword, regulation, hint, or instruction. 26. To write any text, such as the essay or paragraph that is intended to be similar to the provided sample, include the following instruction. Please use the same language based on the provided text or paragraph. So these are the 26 principles. I'm sure you don't need to memorize all these, but I have read it 10 to 15 times and now it is ingrained in me, and whenever I write any prompt, I am going to use these principles because I have inculcated into myself. So these 26 prompt, these has been divided into different categories. So the first category we can talk about is this prompt structure and clarity. So here we have 6 prompting styles. Next category is the coding, I think that's a complex task, and coding prompts. Here we have 3 number of instruction styles. Then we have user interaction and engagement. So we have these 2, style consistency and interactive clarification. Specificity and information, for that we have these principles. So there are 8 principles here. Content and language style, here we have 8 principles here. So total of 26 principles. This paper made my job easier. Now instead of trying and testing out different prompting styles, I can just use these principles for getting the better response. And if these principles are not able to get me the response, I will implement the RAG if it is some form of a RAG related product, or I can use the fine-tuning exercise. That is, again, I need to put in question and answer pairs, collect the correct question and answer pairs, and use that as a reference to train the fine-tune the large language models. So I think that should do it. Please practice these prompts and follow my channel, like this video. I have recently opened up a Patreon page. You can go and have a look at the Patreon page. We are going to build a Telegram bot that is going to be an excellent thing to practice and hone our skills. We're going to build a Telegram chatbot and monetize it. This bot will have the capabilities of text, voice, image, video, RAG, memory, and other capabilities, all the relevant capabilities that you want in a chatbot. So if you like this video, again, keep subscribed to my channel. Go and join the Patreon. That's just $10 per month, and just 1 day of publishing. I already have 7 members and 2 paid members, but we are going to start. Today is 31st of December 2023, and from tomorrow we are going to delve deeply into building this Telegram chatbot. If you are interested to create a chatbot with me, kindly join the Patreon page, and I will see you in there. But stay subscribed to my channel and don't forget to like this video. So having said that, this is your host, Prompt Engineer. Happy New Year 2024. I wish you great success and best of luck in this new year, and wish me luck as well, so that I am able to grow this channel and grow this community and bring out the best of myself in front of you. Thank you so much. Bye bye.